Hello, Mustang football fans, and welcome to another season of Mustang football here at Studio One. It's the Cory Sauter Show. I'm Kelly Loft, Athletic Communications Director at Southwest Minnesota State University, and again, another exciting season up ahead here for Southwest Minnesota State football. We'll be talking with the head coach, Cory Sauter. We'll preview the 2014 season as the Mustangs kick off this season's first game against the University of Mary in Bismarck, North Dakota, coming up on Saturday, September the 6th. And joining us, as always, is the head coach, Cory Sauter. And Coach, another season is upon us. Exciting to be back here again. It's been a long couple of months since the last time we talked, since spring ball here on the show, but it's fun to get back out there on the field and play some football.
Sure is. You know, it's great to have college football back, and you know, I was just reminded this past weekend when we watched a bunch of games. We as a staff and as players, we had a day off where we could just kind of recharge the batteries before we hit this thing full speed ahead, and it was just kind of fun to see college football again. And I know our players are itching to play that first game, and as you well know, there's a lot that goes into getting a team ready to play, and you know, that's really been our goal and mission ever since we completed our last game last season, is to get this group ready to go. Probably our biggest obstacle that we have to face is just ourselves, you know, meaning that, you know, we had a very successful year last year, but that is over and done with, and there's nothing that carries over into 2014. So our biggest goal now is to take this group and get them ready to play. It's a new group, a new identity, and, you know, the work has just begun for those guys.
Well, as you mentioned, the season ended last year at the Mineral Water Bowl, a very successful season for the Mustangs. But after that game was done, you went right into recruiting and then preparing for this 2014 season with spring ball. Kind of talk about how that first practice in spring really helped get guys ready for this upcoming week against the University of Mary, and we've seen a lot of strides by the guys on both sides of the football.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, we did graduate a lot of players, guys that have played a lot of football, and so with that, you've got to start with square one again, and you know, some of the things that became routine for our group weren't routine, you know, in the spring and early fall. So we had to iron out a lot of those things initially, and just really find out what we could do and what we couldn't do. You know, that's part of being a coach. Is, you know, it may look good on paper, it may look good in, you know, conceptually, but if your players can't execute what you're asking them to do, then it'd be foolish on our end to continue to run that. So we had to make some adjustments in really all phases, you know, offense, defense, and special teams, based on this year's group. And so that's been our focus, is just learning more about ourselves and getting our guys to connect with each other as well during training camp. And we did a lot of fun, unique, you know, team building activities to help that process, and ultimately, hopefully, those things will carry into the season when the game's on the line.
Well, of course, again, the Mustangs finished the 2013 season with a record of 7-5, finished fourth in the 16-team NSIC, and had a great finish in the South Division as well, going 5-2 and playing in the Mineral Water Bowl, first Division II postseason appearance for the Mustangs. But as you mentioned, that's in the past now, and it's going to be a little bit different for this squad, Coach, because you know, we're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. Obviously, with 7 wins last year, and people know about Southwest, and obviously the returning players, Tyler Tondrum, a record-breaking season last year, and a quarterback that's a senior. So it's a little bit different for the guys mentality-wise than maybe it was in the past few years.
Definitely. I think we've gained some respect, you know, this past season, even the last 2 seasons. We've had a lot of close games, close battles, and so we're constantly, you know, getting on people's radar, and no one's going to take us lightly, and that's a compliment of what we've been doing. Our players have been really buying in, and you know, getting better every year, and that's the goal of any season, is trying to build on what you've done the previous year. So, but with that being said, we did lose some guys, and so we constantly have to push and get those guys doing what we're expecting them to do within our system, and so that's pretty encouraging for us to just see the progress, you know, really over this last month or so during training camp, and finally getting to play a game here shortly.
Well, it is game week for the Mustangs, and again, they start the season Saturday, September 6th in Bismarck, North Dakota, against the University of Mary. The Marauders last season finished 6-5 overall. The two teams did not play last season, and first time since 2011 that the Mustangs have played at the University of Marion. As Coach mentioned, Mustangs did lose a lot of very good seniors from last season's squad, but there are plenty of returners on both sides of the football. And let's kind of take a look here at the preview and talk about some of the guys on both sides of the ball. And first, we'll start off with the offensive side. The Mustang roster does have 110 players as we begin this for this week, going into the first game, and about 46 letter winners returning or so. Let's talk about some of the guys on offense, and one of those guys obviously is Tyler Tonham at running back, a quarterback Charlie Kern, but kind of go through that offense and what fans can expect here this season.
Well, starting up front, our starting five guys, guys that some of them have never taken a college snap, some of them have very limited experience, but with that group, Grant Greenfield, a guy that's been in our system now for a couple years, he was probably our next best offensive lineman, even last year. So we feel like he is going to have a great season for us. You'll look at Macaulay, a transfer kid who's very athletic, brings us some experience from that regard. Nathan Thompson, a kid that has been in our system now for a few years. He's a guy that can play a lot of those inside spots, guard or center. Bullard is a kid that we got as a transfer, a big kid, 6'6", 350. Definitely has a lot of the tools that we're looking for at that position. And then Kane Hutchinson as well, a redshirt freshman. So you've got a good mix of some younger guys and some transfers. And, even with that, they've been battling all training camp, and we've put some of those guys as backups, as starters, and really try to see who is going to emerge from that group of guys. But that's where everything starts, and, the nice thing is they've been getting better every single day. I mean, there hasn't been a day where I felt like we took a step backwards, so that's a good thing. On the perimeter, we have some new faces, but we also have a lot of guys coming back. You look at our X position, Cross and Williams both played significant snaps last year, and we feel like they bring a lot to the table, just from a consistency standpoint, a maturity standpoint. So we're excited about what they bring. We did add Kevin Parks, a wide receiver on the outside, a definite speed threat. He's first spring was his first year here, so we're working with him, just getting the ins and outs of the offense, but he has definitely progressed over the last couple months. Nathaniel Hewitt has really emerged recently, and we're excited about what he brings to the table. He's just a redshirt freshman, so we've got a lot of tools in place there, as well as our slot position. Adam Olson, we moved him from an outside receiver to an inside receiver, along with Ty Stephenson. Those two guys give us some work there. So, yeah, I think overall our receiving crew is a pretty established group, ones that we feel like we could put any of them out there and they'll be just fine. Probably our deepest position is our running back spot. You look at Tyler Tondrum, enough said. I mean, he's proven a lot already. He has no more he needs to prove. He just needs to go out and play football and help us win some football games. Ashani Payne and Devontae Stevens, both guys behind him that we really feel like we can put any of those guys in and we can win football games with. So that's a very solid position, probably the deepest we've ever been at that position. At quarterback, Charlie Kern's back, great decision maker, athletic. He's what you look for, and we're expecting big things from him. And then behind him, Blake Gimble is going to be our backup, redshirt freshman from Marshalltown, Iowa, and he's definitely taken a lot of steps forward during the course of this fall camp, and you can tell that he's developing some confidence as well, so it's good to see that. Looking at tight end, we're going to have some new faces there. Graduated, Cody Condon, Will Kirka, those guys, and so we're going to have some new faces there. We've got Carr playing that position. He was a wide receiver last year, but he's our biggest wide receiver returning, so we moved him to that wide position. And so we've had, moving a couple guys like that makes more sense for them and a chance for them to get on the field.
Well, one thing to talk about, obviously the last year's offensive numbers are just incredible, and the Mustangs return some obviously key pieces of that, but we talked about this before the show. It doesn't even matter if we had the exact same offensive team back. To put up those numbers again is almost impossible. And I think as you talked about, we can't go out and set goals like if we don't have the same season we did statistically as last year, it's a failure, because that's just not the case. Your job, obviously, we want to win football games more importantly, but you play the way we're supposed to play, the numbers will take care of it themselves. But last year was pretty amazing, and if we can get 2/3 of that, I think it'd still be a pretty good offensive season.
Yeah, I know. I think you nailed the nail on the head there, because talking with our quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, and everybody, what we did last year was pretty special. And as you mentioned, if we had the same exact kids out there that played, I don't know if we'd be able to replicate that. One is, teams are probably going to be gearing towards preparing for that type of system, during the entire off season. So, one, you've got that. Two, it was just tough. I mean, we had some games where things just happened to go our way, and had some big plays, and Tandem running wild, and it was just one of those years. But so really, what we're focusing on is just executing. Really, who cares about the statistics? Our main statistic is to be competitive and ultimately put ourselves in position to win games. And that was the biggest difference last year. Even if we didn't have the stats that we did last year, bottom line is we were winning a lot of those close ball games that we weren't in the past. And that's the difference between, an 8-3 or 7-4 season as a comparison to a 3-8 or 4-7 season.
Yep. You are watching the Cory Sauter Show here at Studio One and at smsumustangs.com. We're previewing the 2014 season. The Mustangs play at the University of Mary on Saturday, September 6th. The home opener the following Saturday against Minnesota Crookston, 6 o'clock at the Schwann Regional Event Center. Now we flip over to the other side of the football coach, and the defense. There's some newcomers in there, but a lot of returners that saw a lot of snaps over the past few years. And obviously in this college game, offense kind of dominates, especially in the NSIC. But the defense, we think, will be much improved this year. And there's some guys that have really played a lot of snaps, important football, and they're going to be ready to go this year.
Well, they should be. I think we've got some guys with experience now that have taken a good amount of college snaps. We've done some things schematically that I think will enhance what they're able to do. But you look at, and again, it starts up front, and we've got some guys that I think are difference makers. You start with A.J. Page. He's a guy that has made a commitment to get bigger, faster, stronger, and he's a kid now that's 265. And there's been years in the years past where he's been 225 at the end of the season. Well, he's definitely transformed himself into what I think is going to be a very productive player in this conference. And so it starts with him. On the other side, you got Jake Levso, who's been very, very productive. As long as he stays healthy, we've got two good ends, up front. And then you look up front in the middle with Warner in the middle, big kid that's able to plug up the inside runs and so on and so forth. And, I feel very, very confident about those three guys up front, and even the guys behind them, Rakeem Felder, the other Warner. All those guys are very, very capable of coming in and giving us really, really good quality snaps. And, and then you look at your linebacker core. A couple years ago, we started pretty much from square one. We had a lot of young players, but you look at, Pennick and Flood and Burton and Oliver. They've been around now for a while, and the nice thing is we've got, some athletic ability there where they can run around, make some plays. So I think we'll be much improved there. You look at our corners; those guys have been around now for several years.
Woods and McReynolds, 2-year starters, seem like they've been around for a while, but they're only juniors now.
And they still got 2 full seasons ahead of them, and they've been one of the most consistent players that we've had in our program, and we expect the same, from that position. And then, at the safety spot, with Hertz and Tweet, those guys have to get things organized and in position, and they've done a nice job during fall camp doing that. And so when you look at the ingredients, I think we've got an opportunity to get better. It has to be an area we get better because we're going to have some things that we have to overcome on our offense, and our defense is going to have to put us in good field position, get off the field, especially in those third and long situations. That's an area that we struggle with a little bit, and we've done some things I think will help us there. And but bottom line is, I think we're going to have to make some huge gains on that side of the football in order for us to be competitive in this conference.
Well, in the special teams, the Mustangs return all-conference punter Mike Wenk, and Mike has done a lot during his tenure here as a punter, but also done some place kicking a couple of years back. He'll be back in that role as well with Lance Schubeiler graduating, but Mike's had a very good career. We hope we don't have to use him too much on the punting situation, but he's got a strong leg and can do that on kickoffs and punts, and he'll be a valuable player for the Mustangs.
He will be, and unfortunately this is his last go-around, but he's about as good a punter as you're going to find in this conference. And as I told our offense, we've got to be willing and able to use him and not feel ashamed about that. That was one thing with, as productive as we were last year on offense, it was almost a slap in the face if we had to punt. It's kind of one of those mentalities. Well, that may change a little bit, and with that, we've got to be able to use a weapon like Mike to give us good field position. We might be backed up on our own 30-yard line, but Mike's able to get it inside the 10 sometimes, even when we're in that position. So we've got to be able to use him as a weapon, and we're not going to be afraid or ashamed to do so. And and then we got a new long snapper as well, Hess transferring in, and he's been very, very consistent for us, and we expect that will continue during the season.
Well, there's a preview of the 2014 Mustangs. Lots of new faces on both sides of the football and on special teams. Should be a very exciting season here for Mustang football. And again, the opener on Saturday, September 6th at the University of Mary. It's a 2:30 kickoff in Bismarck. And Coach, before we wrap up, and we kind of talked about the players, but your coaching staff, a couple of guys, full-timers that are back, and Christian Gunther and Anthony Kerr, but another new face on the offensive side, on the offensive line, and some other positions, and that's Brian Frana, an experienced coach who knows the NSIC, and it's going to be a great addition to our staff here in 2014.
It is. It's nice getting a guy that has coordinated before, guys that's been in our conference before. He understands this league, and he's going to do worlds of wonder for us, just in a lot of areas. Anything that we've given him, he's excelled at. He's handled all of our summer camps. It's been our best summer camps, since we've been here. And so he's an amazing recruiter. He'll do a great job there. He'll recruit the Twin Cities area and continue that we've been developing over the years. But he definitely brings a lot of knowledge to the game, and it's also nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of. And so he's been great. And then we do also have a couple new GAs as well. Billy Vandermerkt, who is coaching our running backs. He was a former quarterback himself, 4-year starter, 3-year captain. He brings a lot to the table there. Coach Dockery is going to work with our defensive line. Again, a player himself. He came in a tough situation. He came a couple days right before training camp started, and jumped on board and was able to figure it out in a short period of time. And the nice thing is he's a very intelligent man, and he was able to really handle it, and that's been good to see from that end.
Coach, going to be an exciting season here in 2014. The Mustangs kicking off in just a few short days. And again, the home opener, one of 6 home games at the Shawana Regional Event Center, will be on Saturday, September 13th. You can keep up with the Mustangs all season long online at smsumustangs.com. You can watch this show and get lots of great stats, information on all the players for the Mustangs here in 2014 on the website smsumustangs.com. Coach, best of luck this Saturday. We'll be looking forward to talk next week. We'll take a look at the highlights from the game against the University of Mary and preview week number 2 as well. For the head coach, Cory Sauter, I'm Kelly Loft. Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Cory Sauter Show here at Studio One. Go Mustangs!